Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real.
Greetings and salutations, all my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the Black USA News morning show host. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate all of our viewers and those that continue to support the show. We appreciate you, especially when you come into Titillating Tuesday. Titillating Tuesday, it's titillating. I haven't really worked on that song yet. I think we need a whole theme song for Titillating Tuesday. So maybe every Tuesday I'm gonna just come through and be like, hey, and just try it. You know what? I may go to the lab. I got some of my friends that produce or whatever. I may go through and drop a verse. I don't know. I may do like a whole hybrid, some hip hop, R&B type stuff. Where and then I drop bars. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be bars. Y'all know how I get on Titillating Tuesday. I'm all excited because we get to hang. Oh, you know, I love getting to hang out with our chief titillating officer, our CTO. And she's here today and backstage. She's gonna come and talk to y'all about getting titillated. Well, one of the things we're talking about today, we're gonna talk about getting titillated, but we're going to talk about how trauma impacts your sex life, how trauma impacts your intimate relationships and things like that. So like it's going to be live and direct. And we also got Dr. Ye Wong. She is on her way to bless y'all, drop some knowledge on you. But first and foremost, you know, I got to thank the team. Of course, my incredible co-host, Miss Stacey Dennis, who is going to come to the table in a little while and titillate y'all. This is what she do. She's chief titillating officer of the morning show. So her job is to make sure everybody stays chiefly titillated. So she's really wonderful at it. She is so wonderful. Like I talk to her and I just feel titillated. Like, hey, on her Facebook page, I'm like, oh, look, I like this. It's titillating. Oh, titillating. Oh, it's everything about her is just so damn titillating. That's why we got Titillating Tuesday. There was nobody else to bring here except for her. She is probably in the back so not happy right now. Oh, maybe I'll get her on the track. The two of us get there and just bust it down like, oh my God, it's a whole music video. Okay. All right. A titillating music video. Oh my God. Titillating music video. Okay. I worked myself all up already. We ain't even started the show yet. I'm so happy about a new titillating project. So I know that things are, let's see, what else is happening? Today? I got to do my show notes. Oh, big up to the super producer, Kyle Crazy Horse Morgan, for always holding it down and making sure that we have the type of shows that you all like, appreciate, and need. Big up to my personal assistant, Grace Awaka. She's been doing a great job of just making sure like the background stuff is taken care of. Y'all don't understand how much background stuff there is. Boy, listen. So let's see what else. Oh, make sure that you stay up to date on our continuing Maryland election coverage. We have been out in these streets and in these suites interviewing some of the candidates for elective office in Maryland in 2022. And we've been bringing those interviews to you guys. I got to be honest, not quite sure who's on the agenda for today, but I know we have had Peter Francho. We have had Wes Moore, Rashawn Baker. We've had Ms. Camp. We've had Ashwani Jane. Like we've had everybody on here. So you all can go through and check out these interviews so that you can have a better sense of who's running for office. Honestly, some of these interviews that I've been watching, I was like, wow, I didn't know that about them. And I got to be honest. Some of my opinions about some of the candidates have changed because of what they said. So that's always a good one. Make sure that you support Black businesses that are doing things in the Black community. And one of our favorites is Darker Than Blue Grill, located at 413 North Charles Street. They have amazing food, like amazing food. I don't think it's appropriate to sing Amazing Grace about it now. I'm in a singing kind of mood today. I realize I don't know what else is going to happen today. I might have to get some background beats and just drop something with y'all today on the show. Because I haven't exercised my vocal skills in quite some years. You know what I mean? This might be the day I just break it all out for y'all. Let's see. Before we get there, I got to make sure I take care of all my show notes. Oh, let me tell you about how my company can help you.
Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I'm the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show and the president of the Grinding Gang Incorporated. The Grinding Gang is an organization that helps small business owners in the nonprofit and for-profit communities figure out how to make sense of all the noise. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. We help you develop business plans. We help you figure out what to do with a lot of the information you receive, and we also help you figure out how to become more profitable. We also host a variety of workshops. You can check out our next workshop on grant writing right here.
All right, so it looks like I got through all of my show notes, all the stuff I'm supposed to say. I appreciate you guys so much for coming out. Good morning, Shonda Duncan. Shonda's coming to us from Baltimore County. See, this is what happens when the school year is over. All your teacher friends jump back on. All your teacher friends jump back on and able to watch because they weren't able to watch during classroom time. So that's a wonderful thing. I think I got through all the parts that I have to get through. Now I get to do what I love to do, yo. I get to bring to the stage the chief titillating officer of the Black USA News Morning Show, Miss Stacey. Hey,
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
I don't know if you heard, but we might be dropping an album, or
Nope,
at least
nope. I heard all that. I was backstage, like, oh, nope,
You're not
nope. We're not doing that.
dropping
We're not doing that. We're not the Migos here. We're not doing that.
No, we even better. We titillating. We drop a titillating.
Just because of that. Just because. Nope.
I'm gonna have to work
therapy.
Well, no, we could talk about therapy and the track and everything. I mean, it could be a whole, I ain't mad at a song we go old school song the last 15, 30 minutes. We can make all that happen. I got a lot of stuff to say. You give me a dope beat, I might be able to drop bars. Oh, and you know what else we can do? We do a titillating track, right? And then we drop 32 bars for justice. Bam! Right there.
My God. Nope. Nope.
You're not in the lab with me?
My God. I got it. I'll be like, what have we done? We'll get banned.
Oh, and you know what? We might even be a titillating gospel song too. Like it could be a real diverse album because we got a lot of.
I got my own gods to deal with. We're not going to somebody else's gods and they're gonna be like, did what? I heard from the other god over there. Nope, sorry, we can't do that either.
All right, this sounds like it might end up being my solo project.
My God.
All right. Okay. So today we're going to talk about trauma and its impact on your sexual development and your sexual life. Yeah. And so let's be clear. This may be a bit much for some people, and what I would suggest that if the conversation, because honestly, this is absolutely unscripted. I have no idea where this is gonna go, and so if there comes a time in this conversation where this becomes too much, step away.
Please step away.
Step away. There is no reason because some of the topics around trauma, especially sexual trauma, are re-traumatizing. Like exactly. Just thinking back to them, if you don't have the support system or things like that, this could be a lot, and that's not the goal of the show.
Exactly.
We're going to bring Dr. Ye on in just a second, but that's one of the reasons that we have her to talk about this topic, so that there can also be an opportunity for you to find out what resources, what you can do, some tips and tricks and things on your own that you can do to get in a place. Again, because, you know, me, I think everybody should be enjoying all the great sex that they can. Whatever is great sex to you, as much as you want to have, you should be doing exactly that. But this may be one of the things that's blocking you. And so that's why we need to have this conversation. We're going to try to, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to try to keep it light. Again, who knows what the hell is going to happen? Do you know what's going to happen?
No, but I meditated and prayed over it last night. There's some sage over your picture. Just keep them in check, Lord.
So we gonna talk about trauma, but we're gonna try to keep it titillating. Well, I'm gonna try to keep it titillating. I don't know what the other lady's gonna do. Hey, you wanna bring in our guest, our special guest that we've had the privilege of having her for 3 weeks.
I know. I'm so glad that she stuck with us for the last 3 weeks. This is Dr. Jay Wong.
Do it.
She's fantastic, isn't she? She is a doctor of Oriental medicine and an acupuncturist here in Baltimore. And I want to make sure I got that right. And she'll correct me if I get this wrong. But she is a Reiki master and a practitioner of tantric. So she can teach your first couple levels of tantric sex. But don't sleep on that Oriental medicine. She can get you right. She can get your insides right. Okay.
And the thing is, sorry.
No. And we have been absolutely blessed to have her here these last 3 weeks to give us some knowledge when we discussed Kama Sutra and tantric sex and the actual meaning behind it. So we've been really, really lucky to have her knowledge and expertise.
Yes, she is, and we're gonna bring her to the stage now, Dr. Yay. If I can click the button right. There we go. Up there, all the buttons got clicked.
Yep.
How you doing? Can't hear you.
Push the button. I have a feeling that whatever software you're using, we have to push a play button in order for us to hear you.
No, we can't hear you yet.
Dr. Ye, do you see a play button? She probably can't even hear us because I couldn't hear you, remember?
She said she can hear us. Oh, we got technology issues. That is so crazy.
Yeah, because I need her.
Oh, so can you get, nope, can't hear you now. Can you get to settings? Go to settings and see if you have the right mic on. Because I had the wrong mic on this morning.
Okay.
Yo, I told y'all this was unscripted. Y'all thought I was joking.
It's live. We live.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah. You can hear me now?
Yep, there you go. Hey,
Dr.
Welcome. How you doing?
Okay, I had to take this head thing off.
Okay.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
It's not just a regular Tuesday, it's a titillating Tuesday.
Titillating Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for having me back. It is an honor and a privilege. I feel like the who was it that won an Oscar, and during her speech she said, "You like me, you really like me."
Sally Fields.
Sally Fields. Yep.
Sally Fields. You like me. You really like me.
We don't just like you. Like, we love you. Like, you got us educated and titillated. Those things don't normally happen to me at the same. Well, when I was in middle school, junior high school, I used to get. No, that's too much. That's okay. Sorry. All right. So today's topic, Dr. Ye, is talking about how trauma impacts your sexual development and your intimate relationships. Anywhere you think we should start off with that? Because I mean, it's a huge topic, doing research on it and everything. The types of trauma that impacts your sexual development, how it can lead to phobias and how it can block your energy and all of this. So again, it's a huge ass topic. So I'm gonna
give us a starting point because I was really thinking about this.
I apologize. I forgot the co-host with the most had it going on.
I'm going to give us a starting point just for us to jump off into. And I was thinking about this last night, and I figured it was a really good starting point because it's going to touch on so many things that we're going to have to discuss. So I was giving a sex ed. I was teaching sex ed for a couple days at a local school here in Baltimore, and everything was going great. You know, if I've done my job correctly, the inmates will run the asylum and it's just them talking. I'm just sitting back, you know, tweaking information, tweaking where they're going in the discussion. Other than that, if I've done my job right, it's a successful interaction. And it was fantastic. These kids were smart. They picked up everything I gave them. They were asking insightful questions that they said they could not ask any adult. I was excited. So, you know, after the class, some kids, couple girls come up to me. And she said, well, you said that, you know, we should, you know, if we're sexually active or something's happened, we should get checked out. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You have your family doctor. You could talk to, you know, if you could talk to your parents, you could talk to your parents. If not, I'm at the health department. Come on in. We can take care of you. So she's like, I got raped 3 months ago. Should I get checked out? And so I was just like, it took me a second, you know, for it to wash over me. Because I was just sitting there like, literally my face was just like this. Because her affect was what hit me first. You don't say that sentence and the way she said it should not go together. But that's how she said it.
How old was she, roughly? What grades were these?
These were 16 and 17-year-olds. And sorry, I got distracted by Dr. Ye there for a second. But these were 16 and 17-year-olds. So the way she said it just threw me off. And I was like, so I had, you know, I tried to recover. So she didn't think I was short, and I heard her. And I was like, so tell me, are you all right? And she says, yeah, I'm fine. So do me a favor. Come and see me at the health department. I'll get you checked out. We'll answer all your questions. Did you happen? No. Maybe go to the hospital afterwards? She was like, no. I was like, okay. All right. Well, just come see me at the health department, okay? Gave her my card, my number. If you need to call me before you get there, if you feel a little weird coming in, it's okay. Just give me a call, all right? It was a weird, at the end of it, I had to analyze my reaction to her because I was torn up inside. But at the moment that it happened, I tried to match her affect.
Yeah.
So because she had people around her, she had her friends with her, and I didn't know, obviously she said it in front of them. So obviously they knew, but I was jacked up. Yeah. I just stood there for like, after she left, I was in the room like this. What are we doing? What is going on here? Why is she acting this way? You know what I mean? And so I wanted to take it from there because she has needs that were completely unmet by any adult around her. Obviously, she felt she couldn't go to anyone because she didn't tell anyone.
That might not be it. That might not be it because I have a story that dovetails on that one. But
I'm just saying she could have because she didn't. She did come to me, but
she didn't come to you because she got raped. She came to you because you had mentioned that they needed, if they were sexually active, right.
But she didn't have to add that part, is what I'm saying. She could have just come into the clinic.
Yeah.
But this is what she said. And in my job, you don't look at only what people say. You also look at how they say it and what is unsaid. And what information they choose to leave out. Because like I said, people will lie about their mama before they tell the truth about their sex life. She said the most intimate, devastating, traumatic thing to me, and she said it in public, and her affect did not match that sentence. And so I would like to jump off from there because obviously that's a trauma, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't want people to think that that's the only type of trauma that a person can have, and I don't want people to think that it would only happen to women.
Absolutely. So let me throw in something. Kind of like I said, the fact that you had that story in a school is important. When I was working at one of the local high schools, they had these 8 women, 8 girls, ninth graders. They were the baddest girls in the school. They were always fighting somebody, always cursing teachers out and stuff like that. So the assistant principal said, "You know what? I'm going to mentor them. I'm going to bring them together." And she had them in a room, and they were going around talking. And one girl said she mentioned that she had been sexually assaulted and raped, and she was like, and my friend, who that is not part of her experience, was like, "Oh my God!" Like went into panic mode. One as an educator and all these other things, but before she was able to jump in, another girl's like, "Oh, that happens to everybody. It's not that big a deal. All you have to do is."
Mm.
And she went around, and all of them had some type of sexual assault, sexual trauma in their space, to the point that it was normal. So that's why I was saying it wasn't that they didn't have anybody to go to. It's they thought that this shit just happens to people. I mean, oh well. And understanding that worldview, how traumatic that worldview is in everything that you go forward as you move forward, all the blockages that creates, the level of trust, never believing that part of your existence is never being safe in your own body.
Right.
Like that is now part of this. Is just something that's going to happen probably a few times. You just got to know what to do when it happens. Like that was the message, and they were giving it not in a disrespectful or condescending. They were actually trying to help. Like, no, this happened to me too. This is what you do. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Mm.
And I know Dr. Ye, she said that when she looked at the statistics before, 20% of women had indicated that they had had some type of sexual assault while they were young, and 25% of men.
Right.
And as a person to whom that happened, like that is a very real statistic, and it shapes. Even if you don't consider it traumatic, it still impacts and shapes how you see intimate relationships and everything moving forward. So Dr. Yang, we done put it out for you because this is heavy Titillating Tuesday today. This ain't gonna be no happy times. But I defer to you and your expertise on the topic.
Well, first of all, let me say that Chinese medicine can assist with clearing the blockages of trauma from the body. Scientists have already proven that trauma is stored in the body at the cellular level. In fact, when it comes to African Americans, they even coined a phrase, post-traumatic slavery syndrome, because they determined that the traumas that the mother especially experiences gets passed down through the DNA of the child. So we're born inherently traumatized. So you think about that from that level of violence, and think about the sexual violence that's still being perpetrated today, and to the point where children think that this is normal. And when you're introduced to something as a child, that's all that you know.
Mm-hmm.
So until someone comes along and tells you, hey, this isn't normal, this isn't right, what they're doing to you is a crime. Until someone comes to you and says that to you, then that is your normal. And unfortunately, when it comes to, I guess there is no fortunate when it comes to sexual abuse and trauma. But sadly, a lot of times it happens, the perpetrators are family members and friends of the family that have access to the children. And the really horrible thing when it comes to our boys and our men who experience sexual traumas, it's viewed as some sort of badge of honor.
Yeah.
If a female teacher rapes a high school boy or a middle school boy, it's considered like a pat on the back. And sexual traumas affect men just as much as they affect women. Some women can become, and now I'm speaking from with my tantra hat on, energetically, some women can become cold or frigid and turned off from sex altogether, whereas others become highly sexually active. And that's their way of, well, I will give it to you before I let you take it from me, because at least now I'm making the choice. and I'm not letting you take anything from me. So it's like a false sense of power in the sense because that decision is being made from a traumatized place. Men, on the other hand, they can also become shut down. They can also become violent, like those little girls were all violent. And one thing that they had in common was their childhood sexual abuse. Men can become violent toward women. Men can, it can show up in men not being able to effectively communicate, or being what we call man whores, or, community D. It's their way of taking control as well. And some of them can develop a very negative, toxic view of women because of what a woman did to them. I was working on a young man last year, and I was doing a acupuncture clearing session on him. And I asked him if I could do some energetic work on him. Now, fully clothed, all that, nothing sexual, tantric energy healing work really is no sexual contact, no inappropriate contact at all. Mm-hmm. And so I was in his pelvic area, like above his pelvic area, not touching him at all, and just projecting energy into that area because that's where I felt led to go. And his eyes were closed. He was laying on the table, his eyes were closed, and he brought his knees up and he closed his legs. And I found that to be quite interesting. Now this person is in his mid to late 40s. And it dawned on me in that moment, I'm like, wow, he's been sexually violated. And so I continued to work on him. And mentally, I just began to pray and speak to his spirit, let him know that you're in a safe space. I'm here to heal you, not to traumatize you. You're in a safe space. I am a safe space. You're safe here. And then, now I'm not saying any of this out loud. I'm just thinking this. And he's laying there, and then suddenly his legs begin to part and his knees went down and his whole body relaxed. And so when the session was over, I finished the energy work, removed the needles, and I had a conversation with him tactfully. And I told him what had happened. And this was all at the subconscious level. It was all energetic. And he was like, oh, no, I've never been sexually violated. Now, this is a person who how can I say this? Was in the relationship, was either accustomed to being cheated on or cheated with. Never had a real healthy relationship. And so he was like, oh, no one's ever violated me. No one's ever touched me. I was like, okay, because sometimes when men think about sexual violation, they think sodomy, like being raped by another man. It doesn't always have to look like that. And I told him, I said, well, you're a very handsome man. And I'm sure women throw themselves at you all the time. And he was like, oh, yeah, well, yeah. And I was like, and that is a form of sexual assault. I said, just because you're handsome, just because you're well-built and well-dressed, it doesn't give anyone the right to touch you without your permission. And what we don't often like to talk about is the fact that women sexually violate men more than men sexually violate women. And here is how. If any men are watching this, how many times has a woman walked up to you and just touched you, grabbed you, put their arms around you, walked in and just hugged you without your permission, without asking you, just invade your personal space and touch you because she wanted to, because she felt that you were fine or you were good looking? Now, transpose that situation. If a man were to walk up to a woman and put his arm around her waist, if a man were to walk up to a woman and grab her and hug her, if a man were to walk up to a woman and just kiss her on the cheek, just, being friendly, he'd be locked up. He'd be locked up.
Okay.
So we receive that type of treatment from when a man does it as sexual violation. sexual
Mhm.
assault, but women sexually assault men all the time. And we've taught our little boys that it's normal, that it's somehow a compliment if a woman wants to touch you, if a woman wants to hug you, if a woman wants to come up to you and grab your butt. Unfortunately, I've seen some women come up to a man and grab his private parts.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is sexual assault. And even in the tantric world,
That's ridiculous.
women sexually assault men on the table far more than men assault women.
So it's interesting, if you don't mind, to deal with this point a little bit more. It's so funny as you're talking about it. I was in a store a couple days ago, and a friend of mine, and I didn't see her come in. She ran up behind me, grabbed me, and hugged me like, "Oh my God, I miss you!" And for a second, it was like all of my 1 week in COVID to I don't know what's happening, and it took me a second.
When we in COVID.
I have lived a very interesting life. So that
Right.
needs to be addressed very quickly. Like, who the hell is this real quick? And
Right.
it never occurred to me until you were talking about it. Like that was so because I remember I walked up to a friend of mine a bunch of years ago. And I was like, oh, hey. And I just walked around her and she, hit me in my chest. Like, who the hell? And it's like, oh, sorry. I didn't realize it was you. And next time, don't do that. But for me, and I really did feel like it was a woman. I knew it was a woman, so I had to be chill about it. I had to blah, blah, blah. But as you are thinking, I remember that instant, like, oh my God, who's doing this? And then it was like, you're a dude, you have to, and it's a woman, you're a dude, you have to relax, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it, and I just attributed to like social anxiety, But like as you are talking, it's like that kind of was, and again, no,
It was a sexual assault.
yeah,
Imagine if a woman is in a store and a man comes up behind her. She doesn't see who it is. She just knows that she's in the store, she's tending to her business, and someone comes up behind her and grabs her from the back.
what's
He would be
more,
in jail.
what's more about that is that I afterwards I kind of felt cool, like, oh, she saw it, she was so happy to see me. And it was like as you were talking, I still remember that moment that it happened, but then remembering how quickly my brain came in to make sure not just that it was not a problem, that it was okay, it was actually beneficial, that this woman, she knows me, she came and hugged me, and it's like,
Because the brain will try to rationalize and find a reason to justify what happened, whether it's a positive or a negative. But in that moment, how your body received it, your body initially received it as trauma, and that gets stored. The brain later tries to rationalize, like, oh, this is my friend. I'm a man. I'm supposed to be okay with women just violating my body because they want to. But do you hear the words? If a woman or a girl were to say that, like those little girls in Stacey's class that she interacted with, or with the principal interacting with the so-called bad girls in the school, rationalizing it, normalizing, oh, this is what always happens. Men say those same things too. And it's still received in the body and stored in the body as trauma. And it's not okay. It's not okay.
I tell you right now, I bum rush a lot of my friends just like that. When I see them out in the street.
If you're doing it from the front and they see you coming and they have an opportunity to adjust, like, oh, that's Stacey, she's about to give me a hug, and they open their arms and they're smiling, then they're receptive.
Yeah,
but just coming up and just instantly violating someone,
no, this is Baltimore.
especially if you don't have that understanding or that kind of relationship. Even with my own children, I am their mother. I carried them in my womb, pushed them out of my own vajayjay. And I will still breastfed all three of them. I will still ask them, because I let them know, just because I'm your mother, that does not give me the right to touch you whenever I feel like it. You have autonomy over your own body. So I will ask my own children, may I have a hug? I put that power on them to decide. And sometimes, especially my little one, sometimes she'll just be like, no, mommy, I don't feel like hugging today. And I said, okay. And then sometimes I'll ask her, may I give you a hug? And still giving her the opportunity to decide, not just whether I want to give a hug, but do I want to receive one?
And understanding that those are different. One of the things that you said there that I think is important is not just asking them, but also not shaming them or making them feel bad when they say no. Because I've seen parents and other people be real kind of fucked up about that. Oh, you don't love your grandma, or you don't want to da da da. And it's like,
go ahead and sit on Uncle Earl's lap. He all right.
Yeah. And so the other part is that, like, not even other part, but to your point, like, it is great that children have so little autonomy in general. They don't have a choice on whether to go to school. They don't have a choice on whether to go to church. They don't have a choice about what time they go to sleep.
They don't have a choice on what to eat.
How many times you heard, if you want something else, you got something else money? Like, so
we didn't even have that option. It was like eat it or starve.
and so what ends up happening,
like that in my house. I'm not playing with you.
What ends up happening is that type of behavior, that type of training, now because it's in education, religion, nutrition, why not sexual?
And church plays a major role in sexual trauma as well, because I've had to tell many pastors that you all teach a pedophile doctrine.
They do.
And then you wonder why so many children in church and so many women get sodomized and raped. You teach a pedophile doctrine, because they'll say things like, well, you know, Mary was 13 when she married Jesus. None of us were there. We don't know how old she was. We really don't. And they say, oh, it was a part of the culture to marry young girls at 12, 13, and 14 years old. Well, why is that? And for the most part, they're too lazy to do the homework. And I tell people, if I can discover it, anybody can discover it, because I'm one of the least tech savvy people ever. And if I can find the information, it can be found. There's a very real reason culturally why those cultures were marrying girls, 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old men marrying 12, 13, and 14-year-old girls, because of with the advent of patriarchy. Before patriarchy, we were in a matriarchal system. With the advent of patriarchy, how all of this little pedophile doctrines came along, marrying little girls and children, they began to murder all of the adult women. Everyone who knew all of the medicines, all of the spiritual practices, all of the women who were adults, they began to murder them off, because in order to change the trajectory of a society, you have to kill off everyone who knew what it was like beforehand. So the only thing that was left were traumatized children who were easy to control, easy to manipulate. And I like to give people books that you can read. There's one book written by a woman who did an extensive job. I read most of the books that she references in the back, and she has about 5 pages of reference materials for the book that she wrote. And it's called When God Was a Woman. When God Was a Woman, because God has only been a man for about 7,000 years. When God Was a Woman. And she systematically goes through, she did all of the research. She systematically goes through the slaughter of the women and how it left nothing left but traumatized 12, 13, 14-year-old girls who in their trauma can be pretty much made to do anything, because you don't want to get slaughtered like you saw your mother and your grandmother and your aunts. But a lot of times we'll get up in church, and I say this as an ordained member of the clergy. We're lazy. We don't like, a lot of us don't like to do our homework. And then there are those who know the truth, But because it's easier to go along to get along than to start telling the truth and go against the grain, they just stay silent. They just stay silent. But the information is there. And we have to stop teaching pedophile doctrines, because if you're in a church and you're hearing usually a male preacher and some heavily indoctrinated women co-sign on it, that, this is what was happening to girls who were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. And then when the head deacon starts raping you, or the person who's over children's ministry starts sodomizing the boys, and I'm talking now about real things that have happened in real churches in Baltimore City, then everyone wants to blame the child. And Stacey and I, we had a conversation about this some years ago, and we're saying how we introduce children to sexual themes. Children. We use sex in this country to sell cars. We use sex to sell toothpaste.
Disney.
And we expose them to all of these things. And then we blame the child and we say, oh, they just grow up so fast. Yeah. Oh, they just know so much. Well, if we would stop forcing it down their throats, we would allow space for children to be children. And everyone has to stop being silent about the creepy uncle in the family, or the creepy aunt, the touchy-feely aunt that everyone pulls all the kids away. Oh, don't let the kids be alone with Uncle, Billy Bob. You know how he is. Only to find out when people start dying that Uncle Billy Bob been raping girls in the family for 3 generations.
Yeah, that's that right there. I have a friend whose family is like that. That's real truth. And
but tantric energy work. Tantric energy work. And that's why I love energy healing work, because not everyone is going to come into the office for an acupuncture session. But the energy can be projected. And I teach people how to do that. You can project the tantric energy from here, like I told you all in one of the shows. The farthest I've projected energy to is to a young man, American soldier, stationed in an Army base, U.S. Army base in South Korea. And that's why my emphasis, as the ancients' emphasis was on healing and not sex.
Well, I want to not only have people focus not only on the mental trauma that can happen and has an impact on your sexual health, but also there are people who actually have physical traumas down there, and that is actually mentally traumatic for them as well, to know that something is not working as directed. For men, it could be a form of erectile dysfunction, and we all know how men view, emotionally and mentally when Mr. down there isn't working as they. What are you shaking your head for?
When your penis doesn't work, you ain't nothing. If you don't have no money or you don't have no good D, who are you? Why are you even in this society? You suck. You're not even a man. You're a boy. You're a
Yeah, I get you. You are feeling that. You feel that.
Unfortunately, women, we carry a part of that burden and responsibility, because we have conditioned men to think that their value only extends as far as their wallet and their penis, the size of their wallet and the size and length of their penis. And so we have helped to facilitate that mentality. And then if he can't perform, and we have all these little toys and stuff. Somebody had shown me this thing. It was a red rose. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. What is that? And then they showed the video where they flipped the switch. I'm like, oh God, no, we're not using, no.
Okay, don't knock it.
And don't knock it. And tantric.
Well, you don't need it. You like wireless batteries, so you good. The rest of us mortals, we going.
The ones that work on Wi-Fi are awesome.
Okay, sorry.
In tantric circles, we discourage self-pleasure, masturbation, toys. It's discouraged because there is no healing of trauma in that. It doesn't stimulate the 5 reflexology zones in the phallus and in the vagina. They're not stimulated properly by those types of toys, even if it's a mechanical vagina. The reflexology zones on the penis are not stimulated properly. And those are also contributing factors to a lot of health issues.
Wait, what kind of health issues?
I'll be burning the hell out of that.
Well, because
So yeah, some people get discouraged and say in tantric energy work, there's no masturbation, no toys, none of that.
I'll be burning it.
that might be why my tantra is off. That might be why my tantra is
But I don't want us to get, because we'll get on toys and then we'll get off. So I want us to
wait. You get a dad joke.
No, I didn't. We'll get
We're
off
gonna get on the
topic.
toys and then we're gonna get off.
So I want us to recognize the impact that physical traumas can have. I have a series of articles that I will link with the show, but it even lists childbirth as a form of trauma that women have to deal with in order to have sex after the kid. And it's not just the baby, it is what that baby's big head does on its way out. So a lot of women have issues, dealing with the after effects of childbirth. So it's not only childbirth, it's women who have reached menopause. And now, it's kind of like the Sahara Desert down there, where it used to be quite, oceanic. And so that is a form of trauma. In addition to all of the things that we've touched on, with trauma due to church, trauma due to physical distress and things like that, and trauma due to things like rape, sodomy. When I was doing my reading and my research on it, a lot of the authors said, this is basically, the after effects is basically PTSD, right? When we think about PTSD, we think about soldiers coming back because they've experienced something traumatic. Same difference. And according to this wonderful research article, and I actually had to look this up because I haven't cracked open my DSM for a minute. And it said that the following traumatic exposures has 4 different types of symptoms. Intrusions, meaning flashbacks. You get into an intimate moment and then the trauma flashback and you just, no. Then you just like, no. Then you avoid the stimuli. You avoid. There's no sex. You avoid people that remind you of it, places, activities that are associated with the traumatic event. It affects your mood. So now I can't even get into the state of arousal because look at what happened before. So now your mood is affected, and then no one can be trusted. So if you how do you have an intimate relationship if you ultimately deep down, I don't trust you, bro, or I don't trust you, girl, and then things just stop.
Well, this is where professional therapy comes in, and open communication. And it should also be stated that men experience that level of trauma as well.
No, this particular research did touch on both men and women, and they experienced those same emotions. And they also described the lack of appropriate counseling that's available. And I'm gonna just talk about here in the United States, because when I did my research, when I tell you other countries highlighted the fact that the United States has a crap system when it comes to sex ed. What? And they're not lying. We do.
It's true.
We do. They dumped on that. Not only do we have a lousy system of sex ed, a lousy track record for sexual justice and equality. And I was like, well, no lies told there. They also said that in the pantheon of psychological counseling, sexual health counseling is taught very little. And those that specialize in it is even smaller. So how are you going to find someone?
Well, for women, particularly women of color, there is a site, and I've used them, and I've found my therapist. through this site is called Therapy for Black Girls. And even though it says Therapy for Black Girls, if you call they're all licensed therapists. If you are a non-melanated person, you can still call and get a referral. I also called and got a referral for my son. So that is a resource of licensed professionals. And yeah, it's called Therapy for Black Girls.
Right.
And you can type in your zip code and it'll pull up the people in your area who are licensed therapists. You can type in your insurance and it will tell you everyone to pull up everyone who accepts that insurance. And I'm glad that insurance companies now more than ever are starting to cover therapy. In the past, it wasn't covered at all. Now they're starting to see the value of therapy, and the insurance companies are starting to cover professional therapy.
And I want to broaden people's idea of what therapy looks like. A lot of the therapists modalities now are very centered on what exactly your trauma is. So when I was doing the research, I found poetry use in sex therapy. And they found some success with it. It helps people get out everything that they usually hold inside and start to crack whatever emotional barriers that there are in there by the use of poetry. And I'm like, I love it. And one really interesting one, yoga. Yoga for sex therapy. And I had to read this one because I was like, how? Why, Sway? Why would you use yoga? But just think about it. Think about what your body is doing on the floor.
It's releasing. Yeah. Yoga is a very spiritual practice. Yeah. In America, we take the spirit out of everything. We just
suck it right out.
No.
Right out. We'll use yoga
we put a very specific spirit in it. We don't take the spirit out. We put the spirit of money in everything.
Exactly. We monetize it.
It is not that we put the spirit of money is a god. Because even the people who talk about God want you to give your money to their God.
Exactly.
But yoga is a very spiritual practice. We've reduced it to exercise, and it is good for your body. But yoga is very spiritual, and it's very useful in releasing traumas from the body.
Because remember when we were discussing sexual phobias a few weeks back, and we were talking about people who didn't want to be touched or didn't, had issues with what their body looked like when they were naked. And I was like, we all do. I was like, boy, these boobs are not where they were in 1991. You know what I mean?
But I'm sure people still find them titillating. You can't bring up boobs and not use the word titillating. You see where you went wrong? I'm gonna tell you that part right there.
So we all have.
We're not gonna use the word titillating. See what you did? Now I gotta keep saying titillating because you brought up boobs and you didn't use it appropriately. Okay.
So we all have those little things. Just don't stop me though. But for this yoga addresses all these things, and not only are people able to move their body, get that release that the actual exercise actually does, and it doesn't have to be anything strenuous, but you're there, you're present, you're practicing your breathing. And a lot of the participants said that they were able to express themselves after a few sessions of this. That's fantastic, because I know people who have gone to therapy for years and still have not progressed.
Exactly. And if you've been in therapy for years and you haven't seen any progression, they're just pretty much milking your insurance company for the money.
And you're not doing the work.
Therapy should not last 10, 20, 15 years. There should be some progression. There should be some progression. And one thing that my therapist used, and I found to be extremely effective for me, because I've, as I told you all initially when we talked about Tantra, how I got into the energy healing work is because I needed energy healing. And so, full disclosure, I was sexually abused by several family members for years as a child. So in dealing with that in therapy, professional therapy, one of the techniques that therapists use is called brain spotting. And I found it can be pretty traumatic because you're literally going back. They have a technique that they use to take your brain back into that moment. And it's a lot of crying, shaking, because you have to feel it. It has to come up so that it can come out and be released. But they're there with you. They're there with you. And you don't jump right into that, it kind of ease you into it. But there are different things: brain spotting, brain mapping, yoga, qigong, acupuncture, tantra, real tantric energy work. And I want to say, if you're looking for a tantric energy practitioner, interview them thoroughly, because there are some people who come into this who are predators.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful. Like, even in the tantric community, I don't let everybody work on me. I don't let everybody touch me, even though we got all my clothes on and everything. Like, no. No.
Well, shoot, that can be said for the church. That could be said for counselors. That could be said for a lot.
For a lot of people, you have to vet people.
Right.
So I've been sitting here writing, and I'm like, we got like 3 other shows to do. Because one of the things we didn't get a chance to talk about was a phenomenon. Yeah, I'm sitting here like, Dad, you ain't never gonna go nowhere. You gonna have
all. My point is not gonna be able to go nowhere.
Cause I'm just, and you know what? I ain't gonna lose an opportunity. I'm gonna do it while she on her show. I ain't gonna wait till I try to hit her up later. No, damn, I'll be damn, and we gonna talk about, because one of the things that I am seeing that happens, a couple of things. One is that people not being, the definition of what being assaulted or being raped is. That definition becomes a lot more cultural, or a lot more criminal. Well, if your culture, it becomes cultural, and if your culture involves criminality, if you can't get to that standard, then apparently it didn't happen. You're just being sensitive in those types of things.
Right.
And one of the things that I have seen a lot of, and it has, the women that I've seen this happen in have been the ones who have been, in many cases, really going for relationships, like needing to be in a relationship. It's when they don't realize that they were raped as a 15, 16-year-old girl who was dating a 20, 23-year-old man. Like, I had one of my friends, so she was talking about her first boyfriend and and I said, "You realize you were raped?" She's like, "No, he was my boyfriend." I said, "Let me ask you this," because she has a niece who's in high school. I was like, "Would you be okay with her dating a 22-year-old man?" And her niece is like older than she was. And she was like, oh, wow. And it really caused her. And what a lot of the things that because we got into this conversation because she was talking about her desire for a relationship and things like that. And the map, the archetype for what a relationship would be. She talked about how great he was. He treated her so well. And what I was saying is, like, that's a predator type move. I create a world that cannot actually exist.
Exactly.
So you believe that I am the only source for it, but it doesn't actually exist. And she has been trying to replicate that feeling throughout her life. And again, for me, this is one of the traumas of that type of sexual assault, because sometimes it feels good. Sometimes sexual assault feels good.
What about my young lady at the beginning of this broadcast? I'm sitting here and I was like, what does she think a relationship looks like moving forward? And when she came into the clinic, I had a list of things I wanted to discuss with her, but in actuality, in the clinic, if I got 20 minutes, I am blessed. I was like, please keep calling me so we can just have conversations, and hopefully I can, just naturally generate it. There is a whole list of things this young lady needs, because what does a real relationship look like to you now? What does that look like? Who fills that bill? And you're right. This whole cultural thing, and we can do a whole show about the various cultures here in the United States and what that looks like. We would have to probably do several shows. And
this is unfortunately a culture of sexual predators. When you think about a lot of the southern states, unfortunately, it's sad. Every time you turn around, they are lowering the age of consent.
Yeah.
It used to be 18. Now some states it's 15, some it's 13, because you have to look at, like, okay, you have legislators who are passing these bills,
Yeah, look at
passing
who
these
those
laws,
legislators are.
lowering the age of consent. So are you saying that as a political leader, you think it's okay for a grown man to sleep with a 13-year-old child, that a 13-year-old child her brain is developed enough, her emotions are developed enough where she can give consent?
But it's they just start stuttering. It's you know, it's biblical. It's all of these things. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tennessee accidentally removed the minimum age period in trying to pass a law that targeted.
But right,
if they did it, if they did that, I don't know, but if they did that, there's no way that is an accident. You can't change laws or remove laws from the book by accident.
No, they say it was an unintended consequence, that part, because what they were trying to do, what they were trying to do is attack the LGBTQ community. And they were like, by attacking them by just defining it this way, that way, in changing the law, they accidentally removed.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing.
I
knew exactly what they were doing. They were killing two birds with one stone.
I won't put that on everybody who voted for it, because I do know a lot of legislators, and a lot of them are just pressing buttons if the committee says it's good. But I do know that the people who were intimately involved in drafting it, I am very comfortable that they need to be topics of our show.
I love it. That right there. Sexuality, legislating sexuality. I'm all for it. What?
So is that what we're doing next week? Is that what we're doing next week?
Damn it.
So, well, because if we're doing legislating, if we're doing legislating, I'm gonna take the lead on that one, because that's law shit, and I know law shit. So, but that's
not my expertise.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I teach it, and I can get into it. Let's do that.
So let's do legislating sex. But
we're still gonna pull in Yay. So I don't know where she thinks that's not her expertise.
Did you think that you weren't going to be part of this? Oh, you disrespectful. No, you disrespectful. Did you wait? Nope. I'm sorry. You didn't. You were not. You know what? You're not even paying attention. Did you not see that we have a whole ass? Let me see. Let me show you what we got. We got a whole. I'm not here. I'm not. Okay, I got to take myself. See, there you go. We got a whole ass background with your whole face on it. Okay, don't be disrespectful. Don't be disrespectful.
I'm thankful for you all making me a regular on the show. It's always an honor and a privilege to share.
Because I'll be right outside her house with the computer. Like,
hell yeah, we'll do a remote. Everybody will be there. I'll have my COVID mask on, because if I'm gonna be around y'all, I'm gonna have a KN95. I'll be there.
They're putting me out. They're putting me out. I'm in a conference in Chicago. But I love you all so much that I still wanted to maintain my obligation for the show. But they're putting me out of this room. There's not a lot of places where you can go and get some semblance of privacy.
See, but this is what happens when you got a
Marriott Magnificent Mile in Chicago.
All right.
Heading over to the Sheraton.
Okay, we will see you next week. Let you get back to
over there.
Okay, we're gonna let you get back to your conferencing. Okay.
Okay, you all have a great day. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Bye. Oh man, Stace, I love. Thank you so much for bringing Dr. Ye to the. See, this is why you're the chief titillating officer. You keep things titillating, bring us expertise, titillating expertise. We get professional titillated. I love it.
My Lord, you're gonna get in trouble. We 3 minutes over.
Oh God! Oh yeah, we're gonna be all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. We are happy that you joined us, and yeah, we're over time right now, so we'll be back tomorrow.